we have explored more of the surface of Mars than we have explored of our own ocean floor. Last month, scientists dropped a submersible to 13,000 feet below the surface of the Pacific Ocean and found something that shouldn't exist. Not a new species, not even a new family of species. A brand new branch of life. An entirely new evolutionary superfamily creatures, so different from anything previously known that one researcher described it like this.
If you imagine we know about carnivores, we know bears exist, we know cats exist, it would be like finding dogs for the first time. It was, and it still is, the most exciting thing I've had in my career.
A whole new branch of the animal kingdom, living 13,000 feet below us this entire time. And here's what makes this story something different. The Trump administration has already approved permits to mine the exact same zone where these creatures were just found. Over 25,000 square miles, the same seabed, the same depths. The last time commercial machinery tested that zone's species abundance dropped 37% in 2 months. They just found something we never knew existed, and they're about to destroy it. Let's start with what was actually found, because the science here is genuinely extraordinary. The location is called the Clarion-Clipperton Zone. It's a massive stretch of Pacific Ocean floor between Hawaii and Mexico, 1.7 million square miles of abyssal seabed sitting in near total darkness at depths between 13 to 20,000 feet. Last month, a team of researchers published findings that stopped the scientific community cold. 24 new species of amphipods, small shrimp-like crustaceans, completely unknown to science. That alone would be remarkable. New species get discovered in the deep ocean fairly regularly. But that's not the headline. The headline is that these 24 new species belong to an entirely new superfamily, a new branch of the evolutionary tree of life that has never before been identified. The researchers named it Mirabestia maisie, after the lead researcher's daughter. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what a superfamily is in biological classification. Species sit inside genera. Genera sit inside families. Families sit inside orders. Orders sit inside classes. But above families, before you get to orders, you have superfamilies. Finding a new superfamily is not finding a new type of dog. It's finding that an entire category of life exists that we had no framework for. The researcher who made the discovery put it plainly, and she has spent her career discovering new species in the deep ocean. These creatures have evolved in complete darkness, under crushing pressure, for millions of years. They have a unique conical mouth structure found in nothing else on Earth. They glow in vivid greens and oranges under laboratory light colors completely invisible in their natural pitch-black environment. They measure about a centimeter. And until last month, we had no idea they existed. Here's what the researchers said about what's left to find in the same zone. Over 90% of species in the Clarion-Clipperton Zone are still unnamed and unknown. 90%. We just found a whole new branch of life, and it represents maybe 10% of what's actually down there. The CCZ discovery isn't the only one this year. In March 2026, the same month as the amphipod superfamily discovery, researchers published findings on 2 entirely new species from a completely different deep ocean environment. The first, Iskra's glitterworm, a bioluminescent deep-sea worm found at 4,000 meters depth, also discovered living in whale, falls the ecosystems that form around the bodies of sunken dead whales on the ocean floor. Entire communities of life that exist nowhere else on Earth, sustained entirely by a single carcass for decades. The second, the elven abyss tunicate, a filter-feeding organism found at extreme depth that researchers describe as otherworldly, in appearance translucent, structured, unlike any tunicate previously catalogued. Meanwhile, a separate Chinese-led expedition using the manned submersible Fendouge reached depths of 31,000 feet in Hadal trenches in the northwest Pacific, the deepest regions of the ocean, and found thriving communities of tube worms, mollusks, and spiked white organisms living entirely without sunlight, sustained by chemical reactions from gases seeping through the seafloor. These are called chemosynthetic communities. They don't need the sun. They don't need photosynthesis. They are powered entirely by the Earth itself, by hydrogen sulfide and methane bubbling up through fault lines in the ocean floor. Life, 31,000 feet down, in total darkness, powered by chemistry. We have explored approximately 0.001% of the deep ocean floor, an area roughly the size of Rhode Island. We have no idea what is down there. Now here's where this story stops being a nature documentary and becomes something else. The Clarion-Clipperton Zone, the same zone where the new branch of life was just discovered, is also one of the most mineral-rich regions on the planet. The seabed there is covered in what are called manganese nodules, potato-sized lumps of rock containing extremely high concentrations of nickel, cobalt, and copper, the exact metals needed to make EV batteries and modern electronics. The global demand for those metals is exploding, and the CCZ is sitting on an estimated $1 trillion worth of them. On January 21st, 2026, just 2 months ago, the Trump administration finalized a new rule fast-tracking permits for deep-sea mining in the CCZ. The rule was pushed through NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Previously, companies had to complete extensive scientific research before receiving an extraction permit. Under the new rule, they can apply for a commercial recovery permit at the same time as an exploration license simultaneously. The environmental review process that used to be mandatory is now streamlined away. NOAA's administrator defended it directly. This consolidation modernizes the law and supports the America First agenda. A company called the Metals Co. has already had its application accepted for review. Their target? 65,000 square kilometers of the CCZ. That's an area roughly the size of West Virginia. For context, the new superfamily of life, Mirabestia maisie, was discovered in the same zone. The 24 new species were found in the same zone. More than 90% of life in that zone is still unnamed. And here's what we know happens when you mine it. In 2022, before all of this commercial machinery conducted large-scale test runs on the CCZ seabed, researchers from the UK's Natural History Museum analyzed sediment samples before and after. 2 months after the test, species abundance down 37%, biodiversity down almost a third. Not decades later, 2 months. The ocean floor in the CCZ recovers from disturbance on a timescale of millions of years, not human lifetimes. When you mine that seabed, what you are doing is permanent, on any timescale that matters to a human being. Scientists named the new superfamily partly as a political act. The lead researcher explained it directly. Until a species is officially named, it cannot be discussed in policy. It has no legal standing. It cannot be protected. Naming it gives it, in her words, a passport to be discussed, to be talked about, to be conserved. They are racing to name creatures before the permits go through, because once the mining starts, there will be nothing left to name. Here's the number that should stop everyone cold. We have explored 0.001% of the deep ocean floor. We just found a whole new branch of life in the 0.001% we've looked at. What is in the 99.999% we haven't? The deep ocean is not empty space. It is the largest habitat on Earth by volume. It covers more surface area than all the continents combined. It contains ecosystems that have evolved in isolation for millions of years, chemosynthetic communities that need no sunlight, bioluminescent organisms that produce their own light in total darkness, creatures living at pressures that would crush a human being instantly. The Mariana Trench alone, just one trench, goes down nearly 36,000 feet. We have sent people to the moon more times than we have sent people to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Every expedition that reaches the deep ocean comes back with footage of something that shouldn't exist. Creatures that look like they were designed by someone who had never seen Earth. Organisms that glow. Organisms that produce their own oxygen through chemistry. Organisms that live inside rocks. And right now, the regulatory framework that was supposed to protect international waters from exploitation before we even understood what lived there has just been gutted. No environmental review, fast-tracked permits, an America First agenda applied to the floor of an ocean that belongs to no country and every country simultaneously. The species that were just discovered don't have advocates. They don't have lobbyists. They live 13,000 feet below the surface in total darkness, and they have no idea what's coming. Scientists found a new branch of life last month. It took millions of years to evolve. It lives 13,000 feet below the Pacific Ocean. It glows green and orange in the dark. The government approved mining permits for the zone where it lives 2 months before it was discovered. Over 90% of what lives down there still has no name, and the machines are already approved. Drop a comment. Do you think deep-sea mining should be allowed before we've even mapped what lives there? And what do you think is in the 99% of the ocean floor we haven't explored yet? Subscribe. The Black Knight satellite video is up. The Dogman episode is live. New videos every week on the stories that are bigger than the headlines. Something extraordinary is living at the bottom of our ocean. We found it just in time to watch it disappear.